Massive spoilers for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 are ahead. Daredevil's in prison, Luke Cage is here, and the Defenders are back for Season 3. So let's explain this ending, what's next for Matt, and how this ending connects to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and we'll explain the real reason why Matt reveals his identity, why he gets arrested, and what's going to happen to him in prison. And of course, we have to talk about Luke Cage and what it means for the Defenders. And also, what's next for Bullseye, who's Mr. Charles, and what team is he building, and how all of this sets up the future of the street-level stories of the MCU. But before anything else, we have to start with this complete WTF ending and the hidden meaning of this trial.
I am Daredevil.
So this whole season is about how Fisk has been bending the law and the truth. So it's actually brilliant that Matt forces Fisk to face him in a court of law, where he can defeat him not as a vigilante, but as a lawyer.
Yeah, but why did he tell everybody he's Daredevil? How'd that help him win?
Well, there's two layers to Matt outing himself. On the surface, this is an act of pure selflessness. This was a sacrifice that was made out of love for Karen. He is sacrificing himself, his freedom, his secret identity, and maybe even his calling as a lawyer. Which is a fantastic twist since everyone assumed that Fisk would expose Matt, and this would be how he ended up in prison. In fact, something similar happens in the comics. But here, Matt makes the choice himself, and this choice works as a culmination of a 5-season arc. Almost every time Matt's identity was revealed, it wasn't up to him. The 2 times he did choose were with Karen and Ray Nadine.
I'm Daredevil.
The rest of the time, Matt did everything he could to keep his secret, even when it hurt the people he loved.
Take off the mask. You're not gonna like where this is heading. Try me.
And this is why the reveal is so crucial. When Fisk swears on the Bible, we can see the words behind him say, "Truth is great and shall prevail." This is a reference to a Latin proverb, "Truth is great and shall prevail," from 1 Esdras 4:4:1, which is actually a variation on the verse, "Great is truth and mighty above all things," which are from the book of Ezra in the Hebrew Bible. These words are spoken by Zerubbabel, who declares that the truth is more powerful than anything and that truth will endure over all things. And Matt is like this biblical figure, a type of prophet chosen by God to deliver justice. And he's trying to restore the sanctity of the truth in this courtroom, which is like a church for him, where the truth is sacred. And it's also interesting that through Matt, truth always prevails, since he can tell when someone is lying. So these words should appear behind Fisk as he swears on the Bible to tell the truth, while having every intention to lie about his crimes and bend the law for his own aims.
No man stands as tall as this courthouse, these institutions.
Karen is accused of being a criminal vigilante and a terrorist, a crime only under Fisk's authoritarian laws. So Matt exposes this whole trial as a mockery of justice and the truth. He is serving as Karen's lawyer, but he's also a masked vigilante and the key witness in this trial.
Through evidence, testimony, and your own statements, we have determined that Daredevil was on the Northern Star. You and I both know who Daredevil is. He's the man who knows exactly what happened on the Northern Star.
His testimony exposes Fisk's crimes on the Northern Star and Red Hook. So, how in the hell can this court uphold the laws that were created by a criminal mayor and evidence provided by a vigilante?
This court was formed to adjudicate the Safer Streets Initiative, an initiative created by this man, which means this court has neither the ability nor the mandate to decide justice.
So, it's a judicial nightmare that proves that the truth cannot prevail because of Fisk's lies.
I move for dismissal.
Granted, this case is dismissed with prejudice.
And by doing this, Matt also honors Foggy, who always argued that they must use the law to defeat Fisk.
What happened to all that talk about going after him through the system? Making the law work for us.
Foggy also had many fights with Matt about his lies and how his vigilante ways made him complicit in the system's failures.
No one's making you go out all hours of the night fighting bad guys, and nobody makes you lie to your friends over and over again.
I'll tell you guys, I am really sorry to see this show go. Charlie Cox is better than he's ever been in this role. He also got way more jacked than he ever did on the Netflix show, which frankly always inspires me to work harder in the gym. So I'm gonna go work out as soon as we finish this video.
What's that?
Dude, I drink an Element every day, especially days I work out. I mean, you guys have probably noticed. I even drink this when I'm not even advertising it, like on our podcast. This is one of my favorite sponsors that we work with, and I'm thrilled that they're sponsoring this video. See, when I started back at the gym, I felt felt rough the next day. Headaches, cramps, and all-around weakness. But this is because I was not getting the right amount of electrolytes. Element's new lemonade iced tea flavor helps me to stay hydrated without the sugar that you find in other electrolyte drinks. See, the new lemonade iced tea also includes 50 milligrams of naturally occurring caffeine that comes from black tea extract, so I don't get the crash that I used to get from most caffeinated drinks. The lemonade iced tea flavor just gets me right in the sweet spot. I'm sharp, but I'm not like super wired. Plus, it has the same formula that I love about Element's core drink mix. High levels of potassium, magnesium, and especially sodium. So you can get a free sample pack of Element's most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase at drinklmnt.com/ScreenCrush. If you want to try it out first, Element has a risk-free and money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, just give it to a friend and they will give you your money back. But I'm telling you, I love Element. It works great for me. I drink one every single day. So to get our exclusive deal, go to drinklmnt.com/ScreenCrush or click the link below to get a free sample pack with any purchase. You won't regret it. I love this stuff. Now, back to what I was saying. Fisk believes that he is above the law, so he's so sure of himself that he straight up admits it in court.
You don't get to know what comes through our port. All you need to know is that I'm running this city and it's thriving.
And in a way, you could say that Matt considers himself above the law as well. He has been lying in this court for years, since he pretends to be a blind lawyer, which is not entirely true. But he had to bend the law many times as Daredevil in order to achieve justice. This was a necessary reaction to a flawed system, which ultimately invalidates the system that he wants to fix. And of course, there's the Catholic guilt that tortures Matt.
We're not serving justice here, we're babysitting chaos. Us, what we do, it feels useless.
Which is more than him just venting about the broken system and the corruption. It's a self-reflection, since he believes that he failed as a hero to make a real difference. He beat Fisk, he sent him to jail, but then he got out and things only got worse. Rinse and repeat. So this whole season has been building toward Matt's realization that the only way to beat Fisk is if everyone stands up for the truth. Enough with the bending of the laws, enough with the lies. The system might be broken, but by beating Fisk as a lawyer, he proves that the only way for justice to be had is if the truth prevails. So he must unmask his own lies, both as an act of penance and to inspire others to resist the temptation of this devil. And I think it's brilliant that this is where Fisk finally loses, because throughout this season, many places that Matt held dear were tarnished by Fisk, like Josie's bar, Fogwell's gym, Father Lantham's old church, and actually the entire city. But this courtroom is sacred to Matt, and this is where he and Foggy fought for real justice. This is where he must defend the most sacred thing in these walls, the truth. And I love that this trial then turns into this siege situation, with Bullseye forcing Fisk to take refuge inside this house of justice that he wants to corrupt. Fisk also unmasks himself when he unleashes a bloodbath on the people who rise against him. And we got to unpack this moment. So we all assumed that after Vanessa is killed, Fisk would go on a rampage and burn the city down with his fury. But his reaction was very sedated. He's so empty after her death that I think he can't even show any real emotion because he's so devastated. Hell, he couldn't even speak. He's like rabbit in a snowstorm, void of all emotion. But the storm of pain finally erupts when Fisk is cornered like an animal, where he can no longer twist the truth. And I think that Fisk actually wants to die here. He lost everything. Vanessa, the city he claims to love, even his painting is ruined. And he knows that there is no going back from this, so it's as if he wants to be martyred.
I have done everything for you. I've given you my heart and my soul, and I just wanted a better New York.
My only disappointment here is that the Resistance is Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Angela Del Toro, Karen, and a lot of regular people. Swordmaster just basically gave Matt and Karen his credit card and ran away. Punisher's not allowed to mow down Powell and his friends, and I guess the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and his super friends really just don't give a shit about New York. Anyways, the people take the law into their own hands, they topple the dictator, but in the process, they're ready to tear Fisk apart. But this isn't justice, this is vengeance that just propagates the cycle of violence. So Matt and Jessica now have to protect Fisk from an angry mob, and like Matt says,
We're better than this!
And this is a very interesting exploration of the dangers of vigilantism that I think will be important for Season 3. And I love the imagery here that depicts Matt and Fisk as two boxers at the end of a bloody 12-round fight, barely able to stand.
It's over for both of us.
Neither of them can win without tearing the city apart, so they must throw in the towel so this cycle of war will finally end.
I believe you love this city same as me. We have the
Opportunity to give it peace. Even if we have none, that's grace.
And despite all the pain they've caused, the love they share for their city is stronger than the hate. And if you're asking why Fisk says this,
You understand if I don't shake your hand.
This is a callback to the end of season 3 when Matt and Fisk make a deal that he won't go after Vanessa and Fisk will keep his identity secret and promise to not go after Karen and Foggy. They shook hands, but Fisk broke his promise. So this is Fisk's way to take accountability for his role in this cycle of violence.
Yeah, Wilson. I understand.
And this is the reason why Matt smiles in the end when he's in his jail cell. He finally breaks the cycle by removing himself and Fisk from the equation. And more visual parallels, Matt ends up pretty much in the same spot as Fisk in season 1. In these two endings, both men are forced to go to prison, sitting in the cell, with the solace that the women they love are safe and free. But this time, Matt is in jail and Fisk is on a beach.
Wait, why isn't Fisk in prison too?
I know, right? After what he did? See, Matt might have won the trial, but the system is still not perfect. This is a compromise made by the Attorney General. The deal is that Fisk gets away with his crimes if he leaves New York forever. The government knows that Fisk won't go quietly, and if they try to arrest him, they will need to deal with his private militia. But I also think that Mr. Charles had something to do with this. And remember, he works for Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and she is head of the CIA. Now, Fisk and Mr. Charles betrayed each other, but I don't think the agency wants Fisk in prison. They just want to replace him with someone who will follow their orders. So you guys know how much we love Daredevil, so me and the team had a blast designing these custom Daredevil parody shirts for our merch store. There's the No Fear sketch variant, Matt Murdock's Really Good Lawyer business card, Let the Devil Out, a Rabbit in a Snowstorm, the Nelson and Murdock Law and Order tee, Doug as Daredevil, and the Fisk Will Fix It shirt or yard sign, a necessity for any yard. Plus now, shipping is free for orders over $100. And now, if you become a channel member at our $5 tier, you get 15% off the entire merch store, plus lots of other perks. It really does help us out, and thank you for your support. Now, back to what I was saying. And this brings us to Matt going to prison, which sets up the story for season 3.
But why did he get arrested?
Well, Matt broke the law, with or without Fisk's laws in place. Based on the Brand New Day trailer, Sheila Rivera will be the new mayor, so I assume that Fisk's anti-vigilante laws have been repealed. I guess Sheila Rivera could pull some strings, but I think other forces in play want Daredevil behind bars. And this connects to the Defenders. But under the law, vigilantism is still illegal, although it's in a bit of a gray area. As Daredevil, Matt committed many felonies, mainly aggravated assault, like a lot of aggravated assault. And as a lawyer, he can be charged with obstruction of justice. And also, he did throw Dex off a roof last season, which is attempted murder. And the worst crime is that I think Matt's been collecting disability checks for all these years, and that is seriously messed up. That's my tax dollars.
How many fingers am I holding up?
1.
Matt accepts his punishment because, again, this is a form of penance for him. He sacrifices his freedom so that Fisk will lose, and now he must go to prison so the city can heal. And Daredevil going to prison means that they are adapting the Devil in C Block D.
What's that?
Well, it's a comic story written by Ed Brubaker. After Matt's identity is exposed, he is sent to jail, sharing a prison block with the Kingpin, Bullseye, and Punisher, and it's just as awesome as it sounds. See, things are a little bit different in the show, but Matt is locked up with many other criminals that he put behind bars, especially those anti-vigilante task force cops.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
You're locked in here with me.
And remember, Fisk used to run this prison, so I can see that SOB pal taking over and obviously making Matt's life a living hell. So I guess season 3 ought to give us a new prison hallway fight.
Person, I hate that pal guy. I hate him so much.
Me too, buddy, and hopefully Frank will get him soon. We really need the Punisher and Bullseye to team up against Pal and Buck. So what I see happening in season 3 is Matt trying to survive in jail while he is on trial. Not to prove that he's Daredevil, that part's already clear, but to judge whether or not his actions are an extrajudicial necessity to achieve justice in a broken system. I assume that by the end of the season, Matt will be freed. Maybe he will help expose some criminal conspiracies while he's in prison, like in the comics, and then get an early release. But the bigger question is, what happens to him afterwards? Everyone knows his secret identity, and there ain't no way Doctor Strange is doing another memory spell. At the very least, he's going to be disbarred, so he's done as a lawyer.
And I am officially on the job market, and it's very exciting.
In the comics, after Matt is exposed, his life gets even more depressing. He has to leave New York for a while, trying to salvage his life. Matt ends up making a series of terrible choices, and eventually, he even becomes leader of the Hand. It's all very dark. But the ending of season 2 kind of feels hopeful.
The person Matt's in jail, is that a happy ending?
Well, it's not, but in terms of Daredevil, it's not as dark. And that smile at the end tells me that Matt has a new revelation about his purpose in this prison. To explain this, we need to talk about the other time Daredevil goes to prison, and this happens in the story by Chip Zdarsky. And a lot of Born Again was inspired by his run of the comics, like for instance Devil's Reign. In that story, Fisk also becomes mayor and outlaws all heroes. So in this story, Matt also goes to prison after accidentally killing a criminal, and Matt has this crisis of faith over his actions as a vigilante, and whether or not he's simply beating people up without any real meaningful difference. And Born Again sets this story up really well. Episodes 5 and 6 focus on Matt being forced to confront the guilt over Foggy's death and the guilt over nearly killing Dex.
Part of me wants to kill you. Part of me needs to forgive you.
This is a guilt that is rooted in the fact that in his rage, he did want to kill Dex. After this event, Matt quit the vigilante life, no longer trusting himself with his rage.
You know you're one bad day away from being me.
But in his absence, the city went to hell and Fisk became mayor. This self-doubt is reflected in his argument with Frank last season.
You hate yourself. He's eating you up because you ain't done a goddamn thing about it.
And also with his fight with Karen this season when he refuses to kill Dex.
You keep choosing the wrong people, Fisk! This thing over the people who love you! Because you let them live and people die.
Karen makes the case, just like Frank, that Dex deserves to die. Not merely as revenge for Foggy, but to prevent Dex from killing more people. And this shows just how hopeless this battle has become for Karen. And that's how people like Fisk win, when they corrupt good people.
Good deed. What is it you want to do?
What you won't do.
I can't let you make a martyr out of it.
I'm gonna make things right. I'm gonna help you.
And Matt knows where that road leads. The corrupt cops like Powell were inspired by the Punisher. They took his permanent way of dealing with criminals and twisted it to fit into their corrupt sense of justice. Similarly, Dex believes in the cosmic balance. He killed Foggy, but he made up for it by killing Vanessa. And his own death is just a part of that grand design. He even calls himself a hero.
I'm one of the good guys.
The city needs heroes, but vigilantism also grants ultimate validation. It enables a dangerous moral superiority and absolute power. I mean, Frank is still running around killing bad people. Hawkeye never faced justice for the people he murdered. And Dex is now working for the government, while Matt, the guy who doesn't kill, is the one who's in prison. And in this last episode, Matt is horrified as the people of New York turn into an angry mob that nearly kills Fisk. And I see this cycle of violence carrying over into next season. So there is the question of whether Daredevil is actually making a positive difference or if his actions are simply justifying more violence. Daredevil was treating the symptom and not the disease. But inside these walls, surrounded by criminals, he has the chance to make a real change. See, my take is that for the first time since Foggy's death, Matt has some peace. And this is why episode 5, in my opinion, is maybe the most important episode in all of Born Again.
What are we celebrating?
Mercy.
Because of those flashbacks with Foggy, Matt shows Dex mercy. It's not forgiveness. Dex is not absolved of his sins. But mercy is rooted in the idea that even someone like him deserves a second chance. He wants to die, but Matt shows him mercy, which forces him to live so he can make up for all the bad.
What I want is for you to start over with it. You got a second chance here.
So if Matt can no longer practice the law when he gets out, what might happen is him trying to help inmates and ex-cons with rehabilitation. For instance, he spared Cole last season despite him killing the White Tiger, and this act of mercy led to Cole turning on Powell.
The people you murdered deserve another chance.
What, to kill again, rape again? Is that what
No,
you
Frank,
want?
to try again, Frank. To try.
And this is how Matt, once again, breaks the cycle of violence. By showing mercy to those he once beat to a pulp, he's giving them a second chance to find a better path, and thus breaking their own cycles of violence, starting with one good deed.
One good deed is not enough to redeem a man of a lifetime of wickedness.
It seems enough to condemn him.
Indeed.
So this brings us to the return of Luke Cage.
Oh, I missed you so much.
Hey, person, I don't remember anything about Luke Cage or the Defenders.
Well, yeah, it's been 8 years since we last saw them, so here's a quick reminder about Luke Cage and the Defenders. Years ago, Luke was wrongfully imprisoned, and while in jail, the government conducted experiments on him which gave him powers. He is super strong and invincible.
Sweet Christmas.
Years later, he meets Jessica Jones. She's a private investigator who got powers after a car accident that killed her parents. Luke and Jess hook up, like, immediately. Then they team up against Kilgrave, a psycho with mind control powers who turned Jessica into his slave. But Luke discovers that Jess, under Kilgrave's control, killed his wife. Luke eventually forgives her, but they kinda never got back together, at least not in the Netflix shows. Afterwards, Luke becomes the hero of Harlem, and then he meets Danny Rand, aka the Immortal Iron Fist. He is the protector of Kunlun, a mythical city from a different dimension. It's sort of like Ta Lo from Shang-Chi. And Danny is empowered by Chi. He's got a glowing fist. Also, he's rich. The Iron Fist is also the sworn enemy of the Hand. They are an ancient ninja death cult who are obsessed with immortality, so the Hand invade New York because their magical substance is buried deep underground. Daredevil actually fights them with the help of Elektra Nachos. She is his girlfriend from college, and it turns out that she is the Black Sky. Basically, she's like a super magical ninja. So, Daredevil, Jessica, Luke, and Danny team up and form the Defenders. They defeat the Hand, supposedly killing them all by dropping a building on them. Sometime later, Luke has problems in Harlem, so he gets help from Danny, and they make a pretty awesome team.
What do you say? You in?
At the end of the show, Luke is given control over the club, Harlem's Paradise, which makes him the new crime boss of Harlem.
Wait, Luke's a bad guy now?
Not exactly. See, Luke believes that rather than constantly putting out fires everywhere as a hero, he can control the source of crime.
We can finally protect Harlem again. I'll enforce the unwritten rules while you can enforce the written ones.
And at some point, he and Jessica got back together and had their daughter, Danielle. And at some point, Luke started working for Mr. Charles.
He was interested in people like us. I told him to f*** off. Not everyone I know did.
Mr. Charles works for Valentina, and her ultimate goal was to create her own Avengers. But Jessica's powers are unstable after she became a mother, so maybe Luke offered himself to Mr. Charles. He did the work, and in return, his family stayed safe.
I am the only one that can connect you with Luke.
Where is he?
He is overseas. He's doing the Lord's work, so you don't have to.
So, in the set photos for Season 3, which we can't show here, Luke is wearing his crime boss suit. So he's either still a crime boss, or maybe this is a tease to show him becoming the mayor of New York, which happens in the comic Devil's Reign. Just like in the show, Fisk outlaws all vigilantes so the heroes rise up against him. And afterwards, Luke becomes mayor and tries to fix the city. And I guess with all that stuff we said about vigilantes earlier, it could be a really interesting culmination for Season 3 if Luke becomes mayor. The fact that Fisk did not face judgment will surely create resentment and inspire the wrong sort of vigilantism. Like we see with Heather becoming the new muse. She finally gives in to her traumas, becoming the thing that she fears. And for some reason, I think she's about to become a serial killer who kills vigilantes. And if Luke is elected mayor, he can then help get Matt released. But before that happens, they need to follow through on that ending of the original show, where Luke becomes the crime boss of Harlem. And this will work because New York is about to turn into a war zone with all these rival gangs. For the first time in a long time, New York is no longer under the Kingpin's control. Even when he was in prison or out of the city, he was still in power through his proxies of Vanessa. But now, he's on a beach, and this creates a huge power vacuum in the criminal underworld. Last season, we saw that the other crime bosses don't really get along much, and the only thing that kept the peace was fear of the Fisks. So now, all of these crime families and gangs will go to war, which means gang war. And this could connect to the Punisher One Last Kill special, which I think will show this war. And the chaos of this war will force Frank to become the Punisher again, since now Matt can't protect the city. And the cops can't deal with this wave of crime either. I mean, I'm pretty sure that half the force is now in jail.
Police! You're all under arrest!
And this crime war will be the reason why the Defenders will have to reassemble. So Luke is somebody who has been on both sides of the law. In the same sense as Matt tries to fix the system as a lawyer and a vigilante, Luke can fight crime by basically directing the flow of crime in a better direction. And that way, it will make him the type of hero that Fisk has always imagined himself to be.
They know there's a new sheriff in town.
And this could be the reason why Luke brings the band back together, to help him bring order while Daredevil is in prison. And who knows, Danny might actually become the new Daredevil. In the comics, when Matt is in prison, Danny dresses up as Daredevil to clear Matt's name. Something like that was actually teased in The Defenders. Now, Netflix never really did anything with this, but maybe this time, Iron Fist will fill the void left by Matt. So maybe we'll see Luke and Danny teaming up in Season 3, giving us heroes for hire. They can work with Jessica to uncover some sort of criminal conspiracy that connects to Mr. Charles. Now, before we explain what Mr. Charles is planning and what team he's assembling, let's talk about what this ending means for Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Go home!
So Tombstone will become the new crime boss of New York, and I think he will rise to power because Fisk is exiled from the city. But we also see the Hand in the trailer, and maybe this is the real reason that Iron Fist is back, because it's his job to fight the Hand. My guess is that Tombstone is going to hire them to kill Spider-Man.
Wait, I thought you said they all died.
Well, yes, but they're mystical ninjas, and the Hand is a global ninja organization, so there has to be more of them out there. And I guess this explains why Spider-Man is fighting the Hand in prison. He's there for Matt. Now, I guess we need to mention that Charlie Cox basically confirmed that he's not in the movie.
Next Spider-Man movie's coming out, and I'm sure you're going to
I'm
hear
not in it.
this
Don't
a lot.
ask. I'm not in it. I'm not in it. I'm not in it.
But this sounds like something he's contractually obligated to say. I mean, it won't be the first time an MCU actor lied about them not being in a movie.
Like, they might be doing something, then ain't none. Like, I ain't got a call. So, like...
Liar!
So I'm 99% positive that Daredevil is in the movie, he just can't say it. My theory is that after he fights the Hand, he will do some research and discover that Daredevil encountered them in the past. And then Peter visits Matt in prison. Obviously, Matt won't remember Peter because of that memory spell. But if Peter tells him that they used to know each other and he needs his help with magic ninjas, Matt will know that it's the truth because he can hear his heartbeat. And I assume the Hand will then attack and Matt has to escape prison, suit up and team up with Spider-Man and the Punisher, and maybe even with the Hulk. Even if this actually happens, Matt will still have to go back to prison at the end of the movie, and none of this will really affect Season 3. Now, I'm not sure how much of a role the Hand will play in Brand New Day, but the bigger question is if they will appear in Season 3. But maybe their new leader in the MCU is Lady Bullseye. She is a cool Daredevil villain from the comics. She was inspired by Bullseye, but they might change that a bit. And with the resurgence of the Netflix shows, we could see the return of Elektra.
But she's dead.
Yeah, but that's kind of her thing. She dies, she comes back, she dies again, she comes back. And Matt did get off pretty easily from that explosion, and she is like a super ninja.
'Tis but a scratch.
But this season has clearly set up Mr. Charles as the big bad for Season 3, and now Dex is working for him.
Heard you found someone else.
So Dex did his good deed, but then he immediately tries to assassinate Fisk, which is also a good deed from a certain point of view. But I don't want the show to fully redeem him because he just works better as a delusional crazy person who actually believes that he's a good guy, which makes it way more interesting when he kills people for Mr. Charles.
Okay, so who the heck is this guy anyways?
Well, I got a theory about that. So what we know for certain is that he works for Valentina, the head of the CIA. Valentina faced impeachment for all of her crimes, so this explains why she made a deal with Fisk, using Red Hook to smuggle weapons.
We gotta get all of this out of here ASAP.
But side note, maybe this is how we get the Secret Life of Foggy Nelson from the comics.
Foggy? Are you saying Foggy is alive?
Well, this story is connected to the Devil in Cell Block D. When Matt is in prison, Foggy is murdered. But his death was faked and he was held by the FBI. And then the Hand got involved and it was all part of a plan created by Vanessa. Bottom line is that Foggy's death was faked and he came back. And there are a lot of people online who hopes this happens in the show. Personally, we don't like fake out deaths, and I'm actually worried that bringing Foggy back will completely undermine what they did with Matt and Dex this season. However, the flashbacks in episode 5 basically prove that this show is better with Foggy around. So maybe Foggy's death was faked by Mr. Charles and the CIA, stopping his heart with that same serum that Nick Fury used in The Winter Soldier.
Tetrodotoxin B slows the pulse to 1 beat a minute. Banner developed it for stress.
Why would they fake his death?
Well, Foggy discovered the importance of Red Hook, so Mr. Charles needed him gone to keep the secret. But they kept him alive just in case as insurance against the Fisks. So in Season 3, while Dex could be working for Mr. Charles, he could actually discover that Foggy is alive while he's on a mission. And then he rescues Foggy, which could be a powerful moment of redemption.
And they all lived happily ever after. Except for Kyle, who died of AIDS 2 weeks later.
Anyways, back to what Valentina and Mr. Charles are planning. So they're smuggling weapons, and I assume that it's more than that. We saw Valentina collect a bunch of other alien tech, and she owns Avengers Tower. And according to Mr. Charles, the weapons are supposed to be smuggled overseas so that they can sell them covertly to international criminal organizations and not so friendly nations.
It's supposed to be on its way to Guinea-Bissau to win the hearts and minds. Shots must be fired.
But why?
Well, this way they can manufacture global conflict so that the agency can prove that the world isn't getting safer under superheroes. So the government needs to regain control over global enforcement, and they need to force heroes to work for them.
Right now, there are multiple rogue nations with technologies that far exceed our own. We have no reliable heroes. That is why the onus is on me, on us, to shield its citizens.
And this is how we can get a new Thunderbolts team.
Person, did you forget we already got the Thunderbolts?
Asterix. And officially, they're now the new Avengers. But hear me out. In the comics, there are many versions of the team, and they're usually supervillains. The best version is the one that Norman Osborn assembled, which Bullseye was a part of. After the events of Civil War and Secret Invasion, Osborn became the new head of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then he creates the Thunderbolts to work as his government-approved team of villains. And sometime later, they become the Dark Avengers. And as much as I love the MCU's Thunderbolts, we do need the evil version from the comics. Also, in that Devil's Reign story we mentioned before, Fisk also created his own street-level version of the Thunderbolts, and I see Valentina and Mr. Charles creating a similar team. In fact, Luke Cage was involved with the Thunderbolts in the comics, so it tracks. And previously, Valentina recruited John Walker, Yelena Belova, and some others to work for her. So it might all be connected to the work that Luke Cage did for the CIA.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Work was different over there.
They might be eliminating threats that they're manufacturing to regain control over the government. Or maybe this is because the government is now becoming aware of mutants. And this could reveal the actual identity of Mr. Charles. We hear the stewardess call Mr. Charles
Mr. Robertson.
It's probably an alias like Mr. Charles is.
So who is he?
Well, our theory is that he is the MCU's version of Henry Gyrick from the comics. We also see him in the legendary X-Men animated series, and obviously mutants are about to be an important part of the MCU. Gyrick is a shady government agent who works against superheroes and mutants, and he recruited and weaponized other mutants to fight for the government. I don't really see Season 3 dealing with mutants, but maybe, like Gyrick, Mr. Charles is recruiting individuals with special skills and superpowers to serve as government assets.
He was interested in people like us.
So all of this can mean that Season 3 will introduce the new version of the Thunderbolts from the comics. And with the resurgence of the Netflix shows, we can see some of the villains from those shows recruited to this team, like Jessica's sister, Trish Walker. She also got powers, but she kind of became evil and she ends up in the Raft. You know, the prison for super people, which currently also holds Zemo, the leader, Thunderbolt Ross, and Luke Cage's brother, Diamondback. And if Elektra is alive, she could be on this team, as well as other street-level villains that already appeared in the MCU. I especially hope that they bring back Alice Eve as Mary Walker. She was the best part of Iron Fist Season 2. She is a former soldier turned into a mercenary, and she has dissociative identity disorder similar to Moon Knight. In the comics, Mary Walker is actually Typhoid Mary, and she's a mutant. In fact, she was originally supposed to appear in Daredevil Season 4 before it got shelved. And this could be a cool way to add another Daredevil villain from the comics, and that is Mr. Fear. He's Marvel's version of the Scarecrow, and he messes with Matt's senses and makes his life a living hell. And this could also be a fantastic direction for Daredevil and the Defenders, since maybe Mr. Charles will use that crime more to introduce his team of heroes, and use the fact that Daredevil is in prison to show how these government-approved vigilantes are actually way better. And since he's got history with Luke and Jessica, this creates a conflict between the Defenders and Mr. Charles' team. Honestly, I always love it when the MCU explores how these superpowered events trickle down to the street-level stuff. Like how the Vulture sold weapons made out of alien tech, or bullets made out of Chitauri metal in Luke Cage.
What kind of metal does that?
Nothing from this earth.
For example, I really want to see Daredevil fight an actual superpowered villain, like someone with Extremis. And hopefully, this could eventually build up to something even bigger, like Punisher joining the fight, along with other street-level heroes like She-Hulk, Maya Lopez, and maybe Kate Bishop. And what the hell? Bring back Moon Knight. Strip him off that supernatural stuff and make him a crime fighter like in the comics. And one last thing, this could also explain how Fisk returns in Season 3. In the comics, Fisk tries to live a normal life in Spain and in Japan, but then his new family is murdered by the Hand and he returns for revenge. So what I see happening is that Fisk actually finds some redemption by helping Matt against Mr. Charles. And maybe he's got some key information from his dealings with the agency that could bring the entire operation down. And by Fisk helping Daredevil, this will prove that Matt had a positive impact and he can actually help change evil people like Fisk and Dex for the better. Big shout out to Pavel T who wrote and edited this video. So guys, what do you think about the ending and what do you hope happens in Season 3? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below or on our free to join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.